Welcome to VidZet, your home for careful consideration of our common concerns. I'm Dr. Ted Noel. Please remember to support VidZet on Patreon, like us on Facebook, and follow @VidZet on Twitter. I was wrong. Roy Moore lost the Senate election in Alabama to a radical Marxist. Yes, I said Marxist. It's time to call the Democrats what they've become. And this happened in a state that went for Trump by almost 30 points. We have to ask why. Recently, I asked if Mitch McConnell was the Republican Harvey Weinstein. It has become clear that he is. Let's break it down. When Jeff Sessions took the job of Attorney General, he created a vacant Senate seat from Alabama. Corrupt governor, now convict, Robert Bentley appointed similarly corrupt Luther Strange to the vacant seat. But there was a catch. There would be a special election so the people of Alabama could choose the real senator. 3 candidates ran with an R by their name: Luther Strange, Roy Moore, and Mo Brooks. Moore and Brooks were solidly pro-Trump. Brooks also had a strong record in Congress with the Freedom Caucus. But Mitch McConnell backed swamp creature Luther Strange. Because Brooks was a solid candidate with strong freedom credentials, Mitch focused his fire on him. $4 million slandered Brooks enough that Moore beat him in the first round. But Mitch couldn't beat Moore in the runoff, and that was just too much. Now, we have to ask why President Trump supported Strange in the primary. I believe the answer is pretty simple. Trump had to work with McConnell. In order to get deals done, you have to have a deal maker willing to work with you. Trump worked with Pelosi and Schumer to get a debt limit deal when McConnell couldn't produce. But since then, the Marxists in the Senate have chosen to be pure opponents, leaving Trump with no other choice. He sang along with Mitch in the hope that he might be able to come through with something. Fat chance of that happening now. Mitch refused to support Moore because Moore was totally pro-Trump and had already declared his opposition to McConnell's leadership. In fact, when the fraudulent allegations of sexual misconduct came out against Moore, McConnell almost gleefully declared that Moore ought to withdraw from the race. He was joined by House Speaker Paul Ryan and, at the last minute, Richard Shelby, Alabama's senior senator who started life as a Democrat, declared that he could not, in good conscience, quote for Roy Moore. Translation: I, Richard Shelby, am a vacuous fraud. All of the swamp joined the slander against Moore. They had an out but refused to take it. They could get Strange to resign before the special election, have Governor Kay Ivey appoint another placeholder. But that person was likely to be Mo Brooks, and McConnell couldn't have that. In fact, he's already working to try to knock Brooks out of the House by primarying him next year. Sounds like Bannon, doesn't it? So much for Ronald Reagan's 11th commandment, thou shalt not speak ill of another Republican. All of this corrupt intrigue tells us one thing, and it shouts it in words as loud as a jet's roar. Mitch McConnell is a corrupt swamp creature who works with our president only when it suits Mitch's personal purposes. Mitch likes being in his high chair, with the power to tell people what bills they can bring up. And he has almost zero regard for getting anything done to help America. Let's remember what America is. America is first and foremost the idea that you can invest yourself in improving your life and not have your work stolen by the government. But Mitch is happy with high taxes. What happened to the massive tax cuts that would fuel pro-growth? Personal rates in the Senate bill don't go down. And there's a bubble tax that punishes anyone who makes over $1 million a year. Sure, Mitch is starting to accelerate Trump's nominees over Democrat obstruction, but he doesn't see them as making much difference. He's pushing Trump's judges, but again, those aren't likely to make a big difference while Mitch is still alive. In short, he's helping where it doesn't affect his cozy relationship with Marxist Chucky Schumer. Mitch would rather have his pool lounger in the swamp than actually do something for America. What's the underlying problem? It's really very simple. The Republican Party does not have any principles. Basically, R is simply not D. And that's it. The swamp doesn't really care because over time government gets bigger and that makes more places for swamp critters to live. Now, one specific item deserves our undivided attention. It's the 10th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. It states, quote, and we will read from this book, "The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people," end quote. Let's translate this. The federal government is supposed to have only the powers that are specifically delegated to it in the Constitution. Legally, these are called enumerated powers. When we compare those very limited powers to the things it does today, almost everything the federal government does is unconstitutional. Where does the Constitution give it the power to rule over local and state schools? Where is the power to give stuff to people who won't work for it? And what gives it the right to require you to buy insurance from a private company? If R is to mean anything other than a seating chart, it needs to start by reaffirming the 10th Amendment. But that would take away most of the swamp's power. So the swamp resists the people. In fact, the R Party ought to work to enact all of Mark Levin's Liberty Amendments, starting with term limits and a balanced budget amendment. But that would restrict the swamp, so no deal. We don't have a two-party system in this country. We have a three-party system. They are swamp Marxist Democrats, swamp Republicans, and Americans. Americans are represented in the Congress by the House Freedom Caucus and senators like Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, and Mike Lee. Americans are actually Federalists. We believe in the principles of limited government that made America great. And our president, who is trying to make America great again, is generally acting as a Federalist. Donald Trump is a deal maker who realizes he can't get everything at once. The Marxist swamp got its power over a century of malfeasance and judicial abdication. We need to either give the R's a spine with a set of principles, or set them adrift with an Article 5 convention and officially become Federalists. No other choice remains. I'm Dr. Ted Noel. Thanks for watching.